And we're live. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. It's the Dungeon Cooldown on a different day than normal, but we're all here. Can we hear everybody? I think so. I think we should be all
Hello.
good. It's me, MPB, your friend, and also joining us for the first time here on the Dungeon Cooldown, I'm so thrilled to welcome Christoff Visscher. Hi, friends.
Hello.
You and I met a couple years ago, playing in a deep COVID game of Fear Initiative, the horror D&D podcast that we haven't done in a while. And I loved playing with you so much during that. It was such a bright time in that very dark period. And
I had a great time.
I was to say, I had a great time playing with you, and I was so happy when we were able to bring you on for the Broken Ring, and to introduce you to our Dungeon Run family, because it's been a joy. Yeah.
I mean, the honor is all mine because I would be watching clips or small passages of it, and I'd be like just laughing. So the idea of being able to participate in like what made me laugh so much, I was like, this is amazing. Granted, I'm playing a character that's not comedy driven.
That's okay.
But still tends to make comedy happen just because it's D&D.
That's the thing about us too, is we get pretty silly and then we'll be crying 5 minutes later. So I think you're doing just fine.
Cool.
I think you're doing just fine. Because it's the clips we show are often so comedic, but it's so true. I think Omar Najam was one to say it recently, where he's like the absurdity that you guys do, and then I'm holding myself and crying 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
That's the joy of this kind of storytelling, right? Is the tone can sort of be all over the place. But we love it. Angel Devilson says you're fitting right in.
Aw, thank you.
Yes,
Good.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think Rachel also just has such a pacing and a tone that I know there's going to be heartbreak and also laughter. Like, Rachel's good. I've never played with Rachel before. She's fire.
I've never played with her either, but I've enjoyed her on Girls Guts Glory and other places, and just being able to tell that she is that kind of variety of tone and how descriptive she is. And I mean, from minute one in episode 1, where she just, her description of the Feywild, I was so pleasantly surprised. And then we posted a clip of it this week, but your interaction with Lucy, the little girl, like I was so on board with Sir Camden immediately, because I was like, oh my god. And Rachel just pulls out this little girl NPC with uneven pigtails, and you're like, I'm on his side forever. Like,
when I was rewatching that clip, because I was sharing it on socials, and I was like, hold on, I'm a DM. I understand why instances are put into situations, and it makes me realize that Lucy, the little girl, was totally like a litmus test for like, all right, how's Camden going to be?
Absolutely.
And I was like, good thing I passed, because he could have reacted in a little bit of like annoyance. He could have been like, who is this? Yeah, I'm a palace guard, leave me be. Or like, Brandon was right, your hair is crazy, Lucy. But it wasn't.
That would have been a bold choice. I'm trying to imagine
here,
Sir Camden's like, he's right, your hair is stupid. Get out of my way.
Bring me Brandon. I want to go talk to Brandon and give him a high five.
High five, Brandon. That would have been
but it was just
very different.
It was a really smart way of Rachel to test the waters and get a sense for how I've played, because we haven't played together. It was crafty. I was like, oh, only after seeing the episode in its entirety am I able to see the pieces that she's beginning to lay out.
It's so true.
When you're in it, you're just like, what's happening?
And we dove right in. We do have questions from patrons. For those who are new, this is our Dungeon Cooldown. This is we dive deep immediately on character and story and everything. But yeah, it was such a joy. Go to patreon.com/adungeonrun, by the way. You can find the VOD of this there. That supports the show and all this. I've got all that business, but we just dive right into conversation, because this is what happens. We keep it cash around these parts.
Business away.
No. That's all the business there is.
Make that business happen.
I appreciate you. But it is so true, and the things that happen so quickly that I was so impressed by the table of Jared and Iffy just immediately being, you know, very different, but also very, like, similar. And then, the so quick dynamic that the three of you fell into that couldn't have been more natural, where they just looked at you like a fresh piece of meat immediately. Like, I don't mean that exactly, but you know what I mean. Or they were just sort of like,
I mean, let's go. Yeah. It was a bold choice. My friends that watched the show texted me and they were like, "So how long have you known Iffy and Jared?" And I was like, "I met them that day."
Awesome.
And they're like, "Whoa, so you just went in there like high and mighty?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, like that's Camden is not smart. Like he's fine. He's an average intelligence,
Let's
but
get
like
into it, sure.
he knows his world. That is like I've been assigned by the queen to guard the queen.
Yeah.
So anything that the queen needs from me, I'll do. But these jabronis that like kill for sport do not deserve my respect. And so charging in with that kind of holier than thou mentality is very risky and could have like not gone smoothly, but I think that's a testament to how well they role play.
But
because they recognize,
and on your part, coming in with that bold a choice is a gift to them. You know, we talk about that in improv or in storytelling, so many things. It's much harder to play off of someone who's giving you kind of you know, like dipping a toe kinds of choices. And the three of you immediately were just playing very strong choices. And so it allowed you to find the chemistry so fast. Because if you all were just kind of like, I'm not sure. And there was a little bit of that, but you all, I mean, you also, I mean, like, just your name, Sir Camden of the Green Path. They went, oh boy, this freaking guy.
I love
Are you
him.
kidding me?
I already love this guy.
You know, and it was like, yeah, but it's that pure paladin thing. I'm like, oh jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
I'm titled. Yeah.
Yes. I have a massive helmet. Yeah, that was so brilliant and allowed for that, you know, for talented folks like yourselves to just catch it and go like, that's a much easier ball to hit back than just a kind of a tap. You know, it's like, you kind of got each other's vibe very quickly. And
I'm really eager for combat to happen because I think that's actually going to be a great point of bonding for the three characters and all the characters, but us three who like to kind of fight, because even a palace guard does enjoy combat to a degree. I think we'll be able to see each other's strengths. I mean, depending on how the dice go, because if I'm not hitting, ain't nobody gonna respect me. But if I do hit well, it'll be kind of like, okay, Camden, you've earned your keep, even though you're a newbie to this world.
It's so funny, how the dice help you, and I mean, they all whether it's a good or bad dice roll, the dice always help you tell the story. And in the Stormborn campaign with Valcorio, my Dragonborn Echo Knight fighter, it became a thing that the Echo was just better than him, and it was the idealized version of him. And I swear the dice just, I would miss my attacks and then the Echo would hit over and over again. And so it just became, it helped the story of like, you're not very good at this, are you? Like, he's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's those gifts, again, that the dice give you, that your other players give you. Seraphy says, never bad rolls, just interesting ones. That's amazing. Yes. Yeah. You either have a great success or a great story.
Or ideally both, but not always.
Yes, yeah.
Speaking of things affecting the canon of our characters, my poor ability to process names is now just filtering into Camden's poor ability to process names.
So, oh god,
it made me realize that I was like, oh, Christoff, you, because this is not just like a role playing thing. This is a real life thing where I'll be like, nice to meet you, I'm Christoff, and be like, hi, I'm Lucy. 5 minutes later, what is that person's name?
Lucky,
so like,
Lucky,
I
was
literally
it?
Lucky, yeah.
Floozy?
So, Camden and Christoff share that trait.
It really became, it happened, once it happened 2 or 3 times, it's like, oh, it's definitely part of Camden now. It was brilliant. Just go with it. Yeah, we were dying. It was so funny. But I can I can relate. There's
Uh-huh.
it's not to
Uh-huh.
me to where I'll get
Uh-huh.
names wrong, but just names will fly out of my head, and I will go,
Yeah.
who's the? Nope, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just ask them, the guy, I go, look, it's nothing personal. I
yeah,
mean, you might feel like it's personal because it's your name,
right.
but it's really not personal.
I've said that before, where I was like, "Hey, in my line of work, I meet a lot of people. Please don't take it personally if it takes me a second."
Uh-huh.
Yes, yeah, it's absolutely true. Um,
Yeah.
Well, I want to like let's zoom back slightly because I want to like you are a performer and a gamer and you're a DM, you're a player, but you're also I mean you have a bit of a performance background, but you also have
Yeah.
this amazing business of Cantrip Candles. What I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself just in that regard. I want to help people get to know
Sure.
you. I know you a little bit, but let's talk a little
Yeah.
bit about you.
I so zooming way back, I started doing theater in high school,
Hmm.
like every budding theater person. You kind of get a
Same,
taste for like, oh, I
same.
like musicals. I like the energy on the stage. I want to be up there. So I did that for a little bit. I went to college, was going to be a chemistry major.
No kidding.
My chemistry professor had a good degree of insight and was like, you're not supposed to be in chemistry. You are far too
What
animated
are
for
you
this.
doing here?
So he talked to the theater department, and that got me down this path of theater.
Amazing.
I then moved to LA afterwards in pursuit of being an actor. Had more luck being a model, which was flattering, but
Nice.
less luck being an actor. And so eventually I had this like come to Jesus moment and was like, okay, you live here, you want to continue living here. What are you going to do in the city to make a name for yourself in another way? Because Los Angeles is the city of you got to make it happen for yourself. We all know that.
Absolutely true.
You got to work hard. And I realized like I want more control over my own time.
Yeah.
I've recently gotten into this hobby of Dungeons and Dragons. What if we could enhance how fun it feels at the table through scent? And that was kind of the light bulb moment that I was blessed with.
That's brilliant.
6 years later, now we have a candle company. So we started in 2016, 2017, um, all out of my apartment. I was
Yeah.
making these candles and selling them to storefronts in LA.
Yeah.
And then word of mouth,
I
friends started promoting it.
there's a wonderful, as I'm sure you know it, there's a wonderful place in Burbank that I found that I think was the first
Geeky
place
Teas.
was Geeky Teas was the first place I
Yeah,
spotted a
they were the
Cantrip candle.
first.
Yep. Yep.
Shout out to Geeky Teas. They were the
Amazing.
first people to kind of take the leap and
They're on
they're like,
Burbank.
yeah, we'll sell
Or
your stuff.
on Magnolia in Burbank. On Magnolia Boulevard in
Hmm.
Burbank. They're
Hmm.
wonderful. Yeah.
They're the best. And then it snowballed. And I think it's a testament to if you put perseverance and hard work into anything, it usually will come to fruition.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that now we have a team of, I think there's 8 of us in total,
Hmm.
that are all working to design, package, scent. We do it all. So
My biggest and so the fact that you have a chemistry background is fascinating to me, and that explains a
yes,
lot.
that's the secret key that a lot of people don't
Gotta
get. Like
be.
I like science quite a bit.
Gotta be right because listen, if you haven't smelled these Cantrip candles, they are incredible, and they are all very location based to kind of give
Hmm.
for the
Hmm.
uninitiated. Unsurprisingly, one of my favorites is called Library Scriptorium, and it is leather and wood and old books and that sort of smell, and
Yeah.
the smells are so specific that I'm like, how did you? And the one that blows my mind, even though I don't own one, is the bread is the bakery where I
The
was
Gold Wheat Bakery
the
one?
Gold Wheat Bakery.
Sure.
That's the call, and it's like that. It smells so much like bread. It freaked me out the first time I
Yeah.
smelled it.
Very yeasty, very buttery.
Yeah, and there's ones that smell more like a tavern. I really like the Stone Moss Chapel one, which is kind of it's a little sweeter. It's that mossy kind of set. Like they're so good, and they are kind of experiential. I just will light one while I'm working, and just to kind of
Yeah,
give
yeah,
me nice
yeah.
ambiance or whatever. But yeah,
We've learned quite a bit about. Hold on, my Discord is beeping. It's not anymore. We've learned quite a bit about how our customers use our candles.
yeah,
Originally, when we designed it, the whole idea was that you light these candles while you're playing D&D, and people do that.
yeah,
But what a majority of our customers do, as at least over the last 6 years, as it's changed and as we've grown, is mostly using it for, in their own words, relaxation, meditation, and crafting.
yep,
So we find that the DMs who are planning their stories and planning their worlds are using these candles,
Yes.
and then they also
Like
use it at the
music.
table,
Yeah, yeah.
like music.
Yep.
So they've become these inspiration points, which I'm so honored by, because to
Amazing.
be able to spark stories is like, that's all I want to do. Like, that's my favorite thing in the world, the ability to kind of kindle another story being told.
There
I kind
is
of think that's what I'm supposed to do on this planet.
Jeff, our amazing DM from our Heroes of Bingle campaign. I mean, his catchphrase, whatever you want to call it, the thing whenever we arrived to a new location, the thing he would always say was, and you step through this portal or you arrive in this place, and the first thing you notice is the smell.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about you is just sort of like how much of an effect your nose, your olfactory senses have on your memory or your feeling overall of a place. You know, whether it's the smell of the crypt or the sanctuary is another great candle of yours that I have. That's very citrusy, right? Or there's something.
Yeah, it's kind of citrus, ginger,
yes,
some
ginger.
incense.
That's a lot of ginger in there.
Yeah.
That's right. But yeah, do you? I will get to Sir Camden questions. I'm just fascinated by the chemistry in the candle. So, but
You got me. I'm all good.
I know. Do you start with a place or do you start with a smell?
Awesome question. It depends. There's kind of two processes that we follow. Now it's gotten a little bit more streamlined. I work with Benjamin Crudwig. He does scent design for a lot of things.
Great
we work
name.
together on them. Very cool name.
Crudwig. Come on. That's great.
So the two ways that we approach scent development now is, one, we've got our target. So we want to make it smell like a mountain. And we start to identify what kinds of smells you'd associate with the mountain. We try to be a little bit more, I don't know if this is the right word, but esoteric about it. In the sense that we'll be like, yeah, it's not just the pine trees and the snow and the rocks, but when you go hiking and you can smell smoke, that's how you know there's civilization nearby. We always try to put an element of civilization into any of our candles, because if it's just location, then it's just going to be plants. So, or like natural things. So we try to be like, all right, what do the creatures that live in this area also add to the mix?
Amazing.
So that's number one. You identify the location, you try to match to it. Sometimes easier, sometimes harder. Other times we'll just be messing around. We have a whole archive downstairs of like every single smell that we can get our hands on, and we love it. It's so fun.
I bet.
But we will sometimes just be playing around with scents that we like, and we'll come across a mix that just is really evocative. We really react to it. We know that people will enjoy it, and then we have to match the location to it. And that's a very opposite way of thinking, and that's where just like marketing comes in. That's like Mad Men episodes happening where it's like, well, does it smell like this? What if it's this? And so Den of Thieves is an example of that scent. It's very, very smoky and heavy. It smells like wine, wine, smoke, and leather. And we just mixed all these oils together and we're like, this smells great, but what does it smell like? And so that was working backwards. So those are the two different ways.
We had a villain once who was this kind of like criminal mastermind type character of the city of Olsvach, whose name was simply the Cheesemonger. And it was like, all right, what if it's a cheese shop, but there's also blood and like, you know, something else darker underneath it.
Dairy and blood.
Very specific, very weird. Don't do a cheesemonger candle.
We could do it.
Maybe, you know. Oh gosh, well.
We try to go with the formula of all of our candles are 80% accuracy, 20% still needs to smell good.
Sure.
So like, you won't find us doing a sewer candle. That's our #1 most requested, like facetious request. Like, can you do a sewer candle? I'm like, leave your toilet open after you use it. Just the same effect. Like, I don't want to make that and be immersed in that for hours. So no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, right. Can you do a really accurate crypt candle? Maybe. I was to say, part of me also almost wants to know, like, what are the failed candles? What are the ones down in the experiments that didn't make it through because they're like, oh, that just didn't smell as good as we thought it would.
Let me think. You know, I don't think we have any. I think every single candle that we've put a lot of energy into
Sure.
has ended up on the shelf.
Sure. If it
We've
gets
just
to a
kind of
certain
tweaked and
point,
tweaked
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
tweaked.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you can tell pretty much right off the bat that like, oh, this isn't going to work on the first iteration.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even make it past the brainstorming stage.
Cool.
The longest one that we ever worked on was Brine Water Tides. It's our ocean
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
smell. But we live in LA, so we have access to the ocean. So I would go out to the beach and I just sniff the air, and it's like incredibly complex, and it's not exactly the freshest smell. It's pretty stinky by the
Yeah,
ocean.
sure.
And so like we had to figure out a way to capture that. We added some kelp and some like fish flake smells to it, and like we got this cool ocean smell, but only after really, really banging it out for 8 months or something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
so much that, yeah, you could really, I'm sure, get lost in it. And at a certain point, you've got it. A
Yeah,
product has to happen at some point. So
exactly. You
it's
do
like,
have to launch it at some point.
yeah, I can imagine you just going down the proverbial nose rabbit hole and just getting so lost in it. That's amazing, man. I've watched you guys, as I said, discover you just in the gaming store to now you have your own brick and mortar. You do it so well, and so I'm so happy for you.
We just got a sign put up literally this morning. There's now
Yay!
3 years later, a little late,
I mean,
but if you drive past, you'll see the sign
if
now.
you're in LA, you guys are on Hollywood Boulevard? Sunset?
We're on Santa Monica
Oh,
Boulevard
Santa Monica.
near Western.
That's
So
right.
right before you get on the 101, that crazy crowded area, that's us.
You
We're
can see
there.
on the Instagram, it's a beautiful shop. So if you're in the area, please go to see it. This
Yeah.
is not just a Cantrip Candles commercial, I promise. But this is
No.
all fascinating stuff, and so I needed to dive deep on it with you. Amazing. You the best. But let's I've got some of these beautiful questions because as we talked about, everyone was fawning over Sir Camden so quickly, and so I have
Let's
a lot
fawn
of
it up.
very interesting questions.
Let's go.
To part well,
This just strokes my ego so much.
That's
It's
what we're here to
ridiculous.
do, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Let's go.
Well, and it was so Taparto said an interesting question, which was kind of like your favorite thing about the studio. You and I, when we played before, was entirely remote. I know you run your own game out of the store in person or everything like that, but what was it like? As you said, you never played with Rachel, and you just met Iffy and Jared that day. I think you and Josephine know each other a little bit, right? But you never played
Yeah, we
together.
know each other through like the internet and convention crossings,
Right.
but never like a super one-on-one thing. So it was newbie feels all the way around,
Yeah.
I think, for everyone. My favorite part about the studio, honestly, is the audience doesn't see it, but you guys have it comfortable there. Like you have your green room, you have things available. There's so many projects that can't necessarily find the way to make everyone super comfortable. And I walked into there and I was like, oh, I am taken care of, which is super nice.
Thank you. That's very good.
In general, the table is massive.
The
Like I
table's
don't know if
massive.
the audience is aware of how big that table is, but
huge.
it's gigantic.
It might be a little smaller
And-
soon. We'll see. It's still
I mean,
gonna be
it
big,
works, though.
but yes, yeah, it's huge.
You feel kind of like you're in a Justice League meeting where there's like this massive table and you're a hero
Yes.
sitting there and you have to on camera you only see me in this little box, but you're like taking up a big space.
Well, and
You're
you
like,
were
"This is
all
the
alone
realm of
over
Sir
on your
Camden."
side during your bit. Yes, yeah. That's so
So
true.
I kind of appreciated the grandness of that. It definitely felt like we're meeting in a palace, like this is the queen's table.
Helped you with that status. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was so we just try to focus on keeping everybody comfortable. It is that improv thing where, especially when you're improvising with people who you barely know or anything like that, just trying to keep everybody comfortable and just sort of like, all right, everybody take a deep breath, let's have fun,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, that's a tribute to the people that we have there. I mean, yourself included. I knew quickly. I was like, we put Christoff in this room, it's gonna be great. And you're someone who I trust to you pass the vibe check, bud, is what I'm trying to say.
I try.
Yeah, and that's always great to just sort of, but then I don't know what chemistry is going to come out of that, like chemistry, as you say,
Right.
where it's like I'm just excited to put these players at the table with Rachel and just see what happens, and that's been some of the most exciting stuff. Yeah, I love it.
I wouldn't have been as likely to I don't know. Like I love playing D&D, but
Sure.
admittedly it is a commitment
Sure.
when you're agreeing to do a stream.
Of course.
And so the fact that it was multiple episodes was
Yeah.
a big seller for me
We talked
because
about this, yeah.
improving
One
for a
shot,
one
one
shot is
shots, yeah, there's only so much satisfaction you can get out of them.
it's satisfying, but not satisfying enough, in
Correct.
my opinion.
Yes.
And with multiple weeks, I look forward to conflict and emotions and discussing things because there's a context of like, well, we know each other for multiple weeks. And
Yeah.
so I'm really, really excited to see how we bond or break apart
Right.
or fracture or who, however it leads.
I totally
I'm
agree.
just really excited to tell this story. And I'm so glad that it's not just a pop in, pop out. Because if it was, if that's all you saw of Sir Camden, it would have been like, yeah, he's nice. He's
Right.
fine,
Yeah.
but there's so much growth that comes with seeing someone over time.
I think that's the benefit of this style of storytelling, this sort of long form actual play storytelling, and it's why I like it, and so I think it's why our audience likes it too, is the kind of depth that's available, is the, you know,
Hmm.
patience and spending time and seeing choices and seeing developments that surprise you, or you're like, I can't believe that character went in that direction. It makes sense, but you're also like, wow, I would not have guessed that, you know.
Right.
And that is so true. One shots are fun and they're often chaotic, and it's good for a laugh, but also like just being given a little more time to really try stuff and see what's here, you know, see what brings us together or what repels, you know, all that stuff is really
And to leave
wonderful.
the table
Yeah.
and come back to it,
Yes.
like that's such a ritualistic event to be
Yes.
able to be like, all right, we're back weeks later.
Yeah.
How are we going to continue telling the story?
It's that thing of, yeah, it's like any TV show where, you know, if it's only one episode or anything, if it's one episode of the Twilight Zone, it's great, but there's only like so much depth you can get there. Whereas, you
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
really living with a story and with some characters. I love that. City Racing Girl has a wonderful question. Does Sir Camden only enjoy speaking with babbling brooks, or is he down to converse with any part of nature?
He's down to converse with any part of
I
nature.
guessed as much.
For sure. He he's an Oath of the Ancients paladin. I
Nice.
don't think that needs to be a secret.
No, I don't think it's. I mean, I assumed. I don't think it's a secret.
Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
might be. Full disclosure, there might be things about everybody's characters that I do not know.
Sure,
Ron
sure.
and Rachel have done a lot of conspiratorial stuff as like the DMs, you know, kind of where the stories meet and everything like this. I am
Hmm.
just sitting there like a little dummy about certain things and just running the show.
Good.
Yes.
Ignorance is bliss.
I get to learn with the audience most of the time.
Uh-huh. So as an Oath of the Ancients paladin, I have a hesitation with the stereotype of paladins and clerics needing to have like this amazing relationship with their deity.
Yeah.
I think like there are very spiritual people on this world that like have achieved their own forms of peace and enlightenment without a direct link to some sort of deity. And so I was toying with the idea of Sir Camden. Obviously, he worships the trio, which I really like this concept of this. Rachel will go more into
I
it,
was
but the
gonna say,
trio,
yeah, we barely know about the trio, so I mean,
then we'll keep it as such. We'll keep it
sure.
as such to learn. But I think Camden is looking for any expression of nature as a extension of the trio. I
Mm,
think he really respects that anything in the Feywild is alive and breathing, has its own emotions, has its own
yeah.
feelings, and it should be honored in the same way that Camden believes that anyone who's needs to be listened to deserves to be listened to, at least temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what they're saying.
I
If they're
love that.
spouting nonsense, we'll turn away.
Right.
But so he'll give. I loved that the Babbling book happened because the audience activated a light card because I was like, this is amazing. Like this brook came out of nowhere. That's Camden's dream. And the other two were going and investigating, and he's like, I'm good. I will just talk to this river for several minutes. So I look forward to seeing what else comes across his way. He's very open-minded and he hasn't been hurt by the world yet.
Mm.
So I think he's going to approach it very naively and
Sure.
openly.
Sure.
Hopefully he doesn't get hurt down the line.
Yeah. It was immediately I loved, like, because when you naturally think of the Feywild and think of, you know, where people are going, like what to expect, you know, you do think more about nature. You do, especially like in our previous storytelling regarding the Feywild, it was so much about the plants, the forests, the trees, everything. So the fact that we started in a city and the
Hmm.
queen, and this is the queen's consort, and you are a member of the guard and everything like that, is like, No, they and Iffy's character is an assassin for the queen who's killed for her before. Like, it was just sort of like, okay, yeah, it sort of opened up this whole groundedness within this world of within this fairy tale, that you're like, this was
Yeah.
always here, and but it's so rarely looked at. And that was there immediately from when we went to Rachel, just to kind of to let people behind the scenes a little bit in terms of how the Broken Ring came about. Was we were interested in that we're trying this new kind of chapter style of storytelling. You know, it's like where we do a few episodes of one story and then try a new story, and then but they're all intermingling and they're all kind of having to deal with each other. It's like our own little MCU, for lack of a better comparison.
Cool. They
And
don't get to own multiverses. We can all have our own little
absolutely. I
multiverse.
mean, it's all the same. It's all in the same world, and we've had so many connections to the Feywild, but we haven't had the chance to spend any time there in our main story. So
Sure.
when we went to Rachel, and Rachel was someone who we were like, you know, she would be an amazing DM. Her style, I thought, played into what we like and what our audience likes so much. And one of the things that she pitched to us was this kind of, you know, this Feywild story, but it's not, you know, fairy tales running around. It's more courtly and spies and deception. And we're like, go on, I want to see that, because that feels like a fairly untapped version of this beautiful setting that everyone loves. Yeah, and that was there immediately with her. And
When I heard about all the intrigue about the Fae, I was thinking that's why I'm going to play the straight man. Like,
yes.
everyone else is playing these like
Oh,
shifters and shady
Josephine.
people and get the job done, and I'm like, this party needs someone that's just going to be like, yeah, but by the book we're supposed to do it this way, and isn't that going to be a problem?
Yeah.
And that's a necessary force. I
Yes.
also am open to the idea of him associating with these people so much that he starts to change his own morals
Yeah.
and stuff, and that will be interesting as well, because is there a way that he can maybe be a little bit more bloodthirsty while still upholding his oath of ancients? I don't know,
It's that black,
so
white,
we'll
and
see.
gray, you know? I mean, it's, yeah,
Yes,
getting pulled
and
into the
he
gray a
is
little more.
white.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, it was. I can only guess at the depth of what Josephine and Rachel have worked on, because, I mean, just seeing Josephine's half of the episode was, you could tell there was already so much there, and it's so hard to tell. Josephine's very good at this sounds terrible. She's very good at lying. No, but she's very, you know, where I couldn't even tell if where Rachel once or twice would go like, that's a deception check, I think, and Josephine went,
Right.
yeah, it totally is. And I'm like, that it was? I had no idea what was like. She was playing that
Yeah.
very well. I don't know.
She'll like blaze through, like, if Rachel doesn't call for the deception check, she'll just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Because she's so in the character that she's like, of course I'm lying. I'm lying about this, I'm lying about that, I'm lying about this
I'm a
too.
changeling. I'm lying about
Yeah,
all
my
of
whole
it.
existence is technically like one big lie.
Right.
So
I
guess that's
there's so much to untap, and so much to kind of to really like wrap our heads around and figure out, and we're just getting started, and it's really exciting in so many ways.
Yeah.
But it is that it's not just the Feywild. It's coming at it from this almost, this Game of Thronesy type of courtly intrigue, and a way that I can't wait to see where it goes.
me neither.
You know, we've seen Queen Mab in our story before, but
Mhm.
it was a pretty short, kind of a direct manipulation, as I understand it, because it was in Carrie and Coco, her character Coco's session 0. It was kind of a direct manipulation by Mab of Coco to do these things for her.
I don't think Queen Mab is a good person.
Oh, I don't think so.
And I'm wondering, when will Camden figure that out?
Yeah.
Because he looks at her as like the queen.
Right.
She's the best.
Right. Of
We
course
love
she is.
her.
Of course.
I don't know why they like her, because they're bad people, but I'm a good person, and
Right.
I respect the queen. But he's born and bred into the court, and so
Yeah.
he doesn't know to think any differently.
This plays beautifully, actually, into... We do have a question on the Discord. I think it's also from... Departos, you're posted on the Patreon and the Discord. I love you, buddy. What does it
Cover
say?
all the bases.
Seriously, what does Sir Camden's bedroom look like? For some reason, I see posters of Mab everywhere, and some of them are autographed. He's drinking the Mab Kool-Aid, is what we think.
Yeah. He probably has like the coronation poster, like the signed vintage Queen Mab coronation poster or something like that. Maybe if she
the signed coronation poster.
You know, like you're like, oh my god, I got this. I do
limited edition, can you believe
it? Yes. I do picture Camden as being pretty... By avoiding distractions, he doesn't find his job to be boring. Like, he probably doesn't dabble in too much entertainment and luxury, so that the hours that he stands staring at a stone hallway are not boring, but rather satisfying to him. I think Christoff, me, realizes that the more pleasures you find in life, the harder it is to do the things that aren't pleasurable. And Camden's job is pretty boring, I think.
Yeah. That's going to be something that I think that Camden and Ulrich are going to not necessarily bond about, but both kind of struggle with, is because you can tell what Iffy's playing is, as the Queen's assassin, he feels like a closer relationship, or he feels like he's like, I know what she's really like behind closed doors. I've killed for that lady. But but that in its own way is kind of naive too. Where it's like, you think you have
the other side of the coin.
Yeah, you think you have some sort of special relationship with her, but she's probably keeping you compartmentalized as anything too.
Yes.
So just because you have just this slightly more layer of artifice or sheen over it, of privacy that you think you really know, it doesn't mean you know her. Especially when someone who's so literally like ephemeral and you know, who is so kind of hard to grasp as Queen Mab. Yeah.
I also think Ulrich is only summoned in the shadows and behind closed doors, where Camden stands out there and is the face of them. So I think just innately Camden thinks that, like, you think that you have this close relationship, but you don't even get the public persona that I do, even though it's very quickly revealed that they were given gifts and Camden has not been given a gift from Queen Mab. So
give it time. Give it time.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's both of you kind of, you know, thinking like, well, I've got the better piece of the pie, or I've got, you know, and it's just sort of like, but neither of you have the whole pie. Exactly. And you don't even know if there's more. I'm just going to run with this pie metaphor. And neither of you know if there's more pie.
Are there other pies?
Yeah, or there could be whole other pies. I mean, could be changing with the seasons, you know, right? It's like, you know, you guys are going to like, well, this is, and I've got this pie piece, and you've got that piece. There could be, you don't know how big the pie is.
Right, or we put all of our pieces of pie together, and it's, because this pie analogy, we're going to the moon.
yeah.
Now.
Stick with me. Let's do it.
We put all of our pieces together, and there's still like 6 pieces missing. So like we are just a fractal of, which is a testament to Queen Mab's genius, to be able to run a court that no one knows what's going on in their own court. That's pretty potent. Like, that's not exactly a kind leader, but that is an effective leader.
Absolutely. The thing that Rachel, that was a fascinating surprise, but so interesting immediately, was the bit about manners and good, like everyone, like very polite. And
yeah, I loved that.
And how strict it was. It was almost kind of thrown out casually early on, but when I went back and I was watching, I was like, whoa, that's pretty intense. You know, and it's like, you'll be shunned for bad manners. And it was like, wow.
I loved it.
Yeah,
it's such a strong way. Rachel, let me just repeat again that Rachel is a phenomenal dungeon master.
She's really good.
It's such an effective way of saying, all right, so here's the tone at the table, not just as the characters, but also as role players. And like, I loved it. I was like, well, I was already going to be polite. So now that we have to be polite, like, this is even better because I'm already
better
polite.
At this. Yeah, that's so
true. And it just prevents infighting amongst players.
Sure.
It's a really nice way of being like, well, here we are kind. It's almost as though government should follow that because it's very useful,
Yeah,
and yet we do not anymore.
I know.
It's an integral part of
Decorum.
getting stuff done. If everyone keeps the decorum,
Yeah.
we don't get sidetracked by someone getting offended by an insult flung around or something
So
like
true.
that.
It's true, and it's also, it creates such an interesting dichotomy just in the setting because you're in the Feywild, and maybe that's why they are so strict about it, which is literally like the trees and mushrooms and grass and everything has thoughts and feelings and emotions. We gotta keep it together, and that's beautiful. I think it because it feels so put upon the space, you can sort of see why. It's like someone trying almost to grasp a little too hard at control the space, and they're just, and it's like, that seems silly, but sure, try that. And I'm going to enforce good manners in this chaotic place.
The idea of the Feywild having waves of emotion is such a cool idea, and it makes sense. Keep the emotions out of the court then. If the emotions are flying around left and right, let's keep it stale.
Yeah, right. Or at least keep it, keep it stale. Yes, keep
Sterile.
it close to the vest. Fail Waffle said, "So sad I'm late, but wanted to say hi and show Christoff some love."
I saw.
Oh, thanks, Fail Waffle.
I gave a wave.
We appreciate you. Good to see you folks. I know we're doing this on a Friday normally, but we've got so much to talk about.
What day do you normally do this?
We normally do the cooldown on Monday, sometimes on Tuesdays. But we had a chaotic early beginning of the week as we let everybody know we couldn't do the show this week because of health and safety reasons. Everybody's okay. We do fully expect to come back next week. But yeah, it was, there's a bit of juggling happening on our side on Monday and Tuesday, folks.
Change is the constant. Got to roll with the punches.
Indeed it is. I got one more question from Black Kakari on Discord, and it kind of plays into what we're talking about here. I
love these questions.
I know,
Thank you for these questions.
Exactly, they're so great. We love our community. They're so amazing. You are on Discord. We gotta get you on our Dungeon Run Discord.
Because, add me in.
All right, I will toss you as soon as we're done. I will send you the invite.
Cool.
This question is lovely. I'm looking forward to getting to know Sir Camden better. It seems that Boots and Ulrich are the last two people he would have chosen to be teamed up with, but he's trusting Mab's judgment. Ulrich talked about letting him do things his way when necessary if he'll give them the same leeway when things have to go into a moral gray area, is what we were already talking about. At this point, how do you think Sir Camden will approach a situation where he's forced to choose between his own honor and conscience or the assassin's way? How do you imagine him walking away from that kind of situation? Sheesh.
First of all,
deep stuff away.
Such a well-phrased question.
I know. Great one, Black Akari. Very good.
That question is what I have been thinking about in the shower for like weeks on end, which is when that moment happens where it's time to kill, and it's probably going to be time to kill in not exactly the most honorable way.
Sure. You're with assassins and mobsters. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I think
how do you know?
Sir Camden will try to push for not death, but rather arresting or bringing them back to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
But if Queen Mab decrees it and she put her stamp of approval on these assassins, he might look away as they do the dirty work. What I can guarantee that he probably won't do is try to reason with them and get them to come to his side. I think he's the kind of character that will live his life to the line that he has drawn for himself, but does not expect others to cross over their line and come to his, because a paladin is specific. That's not the same as a nice guy. It's someone who's chosen a specific parameters to live their life. Now, I didn't decide to make this paladin only drink tea. Like, he can get down with the rest of the guys and girls, but like, yeah, I don't know the full answer, and that's what excites me, is because I'm like, I don't even know the character that I'm going to play. We're going to find out in the moment based on the die rolls.
And I'm not sure Camden will know either until, it hasn't been tested in that way. Yeah.
Tea is phenomenal. I love
Don't
tea,
knock
but Camden
tea.
also drinks alcohol.
Right.
Just so we all know.
Not here tonight. Not only tea though.
Yeah.
But yeah, the it's that thing of the fact that you are in service to Mab relieves you of some responsibility in that regard.
Yeah.
Because if it's her call and she's sent Ulrich, then you might not agree with certain
Right.
aspects of it, but if it's if it's you fully, Camden seems fully on board with the fact that it's Mab's call, and so
Right.
in that regard I feel like you're sort of relieved a little bit to step away, unless it's something truly because of your connection to the trio or just your overall personal connections that you still have a serious problem with, right? And that's always
Right.
finding
That
our
would be a
breaking
worst case
points and
scenario.
finding what makes us uncomfortable is often just some of my favorite stuff.
If the trio says one thing that is in opposition to Queen Mab, which has not existed yet,
Yeah.
that would be a worst case scenario where you have this dramatic removal of the helmet and him yelling at Queen Mab, being like, "We were rooting for you. We trust that we're all rooting." Like
He has an America's
like,
Next Top Model moment.
yes, America's Next Top Model for sure. Like, because
I got
he's
that
given
reference.
his
Don't worry.
entire life. Like,
That's incredible.
if we'll see. That's a worst case scenario though, because I think duty is important to him, and so he'll shut his mouth
Yeah.
if he's told to do something that he doesn't want to do. But if the gods and nature that he believes in slightly more than the hierarchy of Queen Mab trumps Queen Mab, then we got to follow that.
I was gonna say, I mean, there is a class of paladin that is like basically all about the higher ups. That's the crown paladin, right? And I've played a crown paladin before, and it's kind of a bummer because you're a cop. Like, you're just a straight up cop, and like there's a
authority,
right? And
yeah.
But the fact that you are an ancients paladin, and so you've made this oath and this commitment to the trio in this regard, yeah, there could be, the trio and Mab probably run parallel most of the time. But,
yeah.
What happens if there's a,
But what's interesting is in the first episode, slight spoilers, but just go watch it.
No,
Don't watch
yeah.
if you're not going to watch the episodes.
What are you doing here, kids? Get on it.
What are you doing? Get out. There were early signs that something is breaking the natural order of the Fae.
Yep.
So Christoff is thinking, not Camden. Camden doesn't think this far down the line, but I'm thinking if Queen Mab had something shady to do with this, that's actually like, oh, we did some bad research and magic went out of control and now we are hurting people. Ooh, Camden will put his sword in the ground and be like, you are the cause of this unbalance, which is not worth any authority. Like, he'll break an oath easily to protect the order of nature and the trio.
I don't know. Again, me saying that there's things about Rachel's story that I don't know. Ron and Rachel have had plenty of meetings about this, but the introduction of what feels like the corruption that we've been dealing with, I was sort of surprised because it was like, oh, it's here too.
Yeah, anything with corruption is always like, if that corruption often comes from people in power, like it's kind of a side effect. So I was a little like, oh, I hope Mab has nothing to do with this.
The Barrel Enclave being affected, and just already the vibes of feeling, it felt very familiar to me immediately, what you guys found in the Barrel Enclave, and I was like, oh, really? Yeah, it's kind of fascinating in that way to sort of, I think I even said this like to people. I was like, it's definitely going to, the Broken Ring is a standalone story. You can just enjoy it as is, but there are going to be connections, I think, all over the place to the rest of our story, and some of them were immediately apparent, and some of them I think are a little deeper. And but I was surprised. I was like, I think that's the corruption that's happening right now that they're talking about, that's happening at the Barrel Enclave. That I was like, that sort of surprised me in that regard. I was like, oh man, it's there too.
It's also a very frightening corruption, because like I was walking in there being like, lay on hands should fix it. And it's like, it doesn't fix it and it hurts you. I was
Right.
like, whoa, 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 we're not touching this goo at all. Like, this is bad
I
corruption.
lay off
So,
hands. Gross.
yeah, keep away for
Yeah.
sure.
Kitty Scritches, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. We appreciate you. Fail Waffle has a question for you as well. I wanted to ask Christoff how he would describe D&D in 3 words. Oh wow, okay, well, that's very.
3 words to describe D&D.
I mean, that's
Community.
nice. That's a good one.
Community, commitment.
Make it another C word. No, I'm kidding.
I'm
kidding. No, don't do it. Dice.
Community, commitment, and what's the last word I'm trying to say? It's not therapy, because I do not like the stereotype that D&D is the same as therapy.
True.
It's not.
No.
Therapeutic?
Sure.
I guess that's the word. Like, therapeutic. It's...
Seraphy says chaos. Community, commitment, and chaos.
It is also chaos.
That's pretty good.
I don't know. There's something special about you could walk into a table, not know 3 out of the 5 people there, and walk away with a stronger sense of who that person is, even though you are not playing with that person.
Empathy? Or
connection. Community, connection, and what was the third one I said? Commitment. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I
think it's part of, I was gonna say listening as well, but I think that's already in there. I think that's great.
What are your 3 words?
My 3 words. Let's go.
What's your letter? What's the letter?
I know. Oh gosh. Oh no. You've raised the bar so much immediately.
Alliteration above everything.
Yes. Okay. I do love good alliteration. Let's go. Empathy. No, E is so hard. Nope. No.
You don't have to match the 3 letters.
I'll go. Let's say empathy, listening, and adventure. Empathy, listening, and adventure. Yeah.
Listening is huge. I've learned how to listen from being a dungeon master. I think I'm a better listener now. Sometimes I tone it out because I'm like, I'm looking up stats while you guys are role playing, and I do not need to listen to this part.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's taught me, like, I can always tell that whenever the story is dragging at the table or the energy is low, it's because I'm not plugged in enough as a DM. And those are the moments where it's like, stop planning ahead or adjusting your notes and just listen. And then the energy seems to kind of equalize. So listening is huge.
That goes back to I don't even know. Sorry, Borkware. My 3 words are pizza, Araban, and splunge. What is splunge? I don't know.
What is Araban?
Araban is Lord Araban, who is the keeper of secrets in our. He is a mind flayer. He will find sprinkled throughout our lore constantly, and also a wonderful character who we love.
Mind Flayer, kill on sight. I'm kidding. I've just been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate.
We've only run into him, actually run into him in game a couple times, and luckily he has not decided to ever kill us. Splunge is a nonsense word. Okay, good. And then Departo says improv with math. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty solid 3 words.
Improv with math. That's 3 words perfectly.
Pretty much there. Yeah, it's so true that, like, and it goes back to kind of why one-shots are kind of limited in that regard, because you can grip too tight with D&D, and so often the answer is sometimes to just sort of loosen up a little bit and give your players more agency, you know, or if you're a player, lean into your other players, like set them up or ask them questions, or, you know. And so if you have some plot that you have to get through in 3 hours, like so often so many one-shots have, it really, you try to you hold on so tightly, and it's often not the key to a great game, unfortunately.
So we have a campaign at Cantrip, we were talking about it before the stream a little bit, where we've got a rotating crew of 24 players.
This is very similar to the game I run for our patrons, but keep going, please.
I love it. And that's an example of me learning to not grip so tight, because the players determine the energy and the the missions that are going to be happening at the table.
Yeah.
So one week it'll be like, we're all here, we're on the same page, we want to kill this vampire. Another week it'll be like, I haven't played in 16 weeks and I don't really know who else is at the table and I just want to explore the world a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on finding the balance of like, there will be weeks where I prepare so much because I know I have an idea of what's going to happen in the next session. And then there's times where it's like, I showed up with a blank piece of paper that I just keep looking down at so it looks like I'm referring to notes.
Yes.
And there's also those sessions where I feel very like you didn't prepare enough. And as a result, the game is lagging a little bit. We're still having a fun time, but we're not making the progression that the players deserve.
Yeah.
But for the most part, keeping it easy breezy, loosey goosey, keeping the lore in the back of your head and being familiar with your world and then letting it breathe and activate, that's the way to do it.
Agreed. I the same thing because yeah, I'm running for the patrons, which has been so great. We had one this past weekend, and I'll do another one soon. It's now like it's around 20 players. Breba, if you can remember, if you're still in chat, Breba, I forget what the full number is at, but we just added Tuo Mask and Idaho Judd this last game. They were both great. We're at 5th level characters now. And we're going to be adding City Racing Girl soon because we so appreciate it. But City Racing Girl is going to be joining the campaign soon. We got to figure out scheduling. It's going to be so much fun. Is it 25 now, Fail Awful? Oh, my God. But it really is dependent on almost the players that you have that day. And, and I love the variety in that regard because it's sort of like, this might normally be an infiltration mission or a political mission or something, but then depending on who you got, you're like, no, this, like I said it the other day, a couple sessions ago, it was Kitty Scritches and Just Jules and Breba and and Jim Witted, and they were the cutest character. The four least combat driven characters dropped into behind enemy lines, and I don't know how I expected the session to go, but it surprised me how like it got very combat driven, and I was like, and it became about these 4 characters being thrown into the front lines in a way that really surprised I think all of us. And
does your story pick up from where you left off, or does it? So yeah, whatever the last group did, the new group is ported into.
Yes and no. Kitty Scritches say, I take offense at least combat. You're right. You're a full ranger. It was you and a bunch of snowflakes, though. Let's be honest, Kitty Scritches. It was you and a bunch of cinnamon rolls. Yes, 24 characters. Wow, my gosh.
That's awesome. So I think we have the same player count.
Wow, that's fantastic. And. So it's not a clean porting. I've started a story that can go a lot of different directions, and it has. So basically you've got one core town, and then there's things going on around it.
Yeah.
And so now I've got 8 players over here, 4 or 5 players here, and then another 5 over here. And so it's like, depending on who's playing, that'll tell me where we need to be.
Right.
And sometimes
that's kind of nice though, because you can take a break from the core thing. I think what we're running is called a Western Marches.
Okay.
Marches?
I don't know that. I mean, I think I've heard of it, but yeah. And
I will send you the thread when I stumble across it. Someone was like, so you're running a Western Marches campaign. And I was like, what is that?
I am.
And I looked it up and it's like, yeah, this concept of like, the players are almost like mercenaries, and it's just like, all right, this week this is your mission, can you get it done?
Sure.
I love it. It's my new favorite style of D&D. I do want to one day go back to like having my 5 or 6 players that we have a private game, but in terms of running it through Cantrip and keeping it public, this has been so fun.
That's great.
I don't want to have something that, if it's a private home game, you get the privilege of long stories and amazing connection and role playing and history, but you lose out on multitudes of people playing with you. So trade-offs.
Yeah, we're trying to run. I'm trying to balance that a little bit. I'm trying to lean into what everybody wants to do, and I think with our community, I think we really do like nice in-depth role play as much as we can get. So I'm trying to not it happens sometimes. I mean, based on the decisions they make, sure, if you want to run straight into combat, we can do combat. But I think that a lot of players, that's not necessarily what they're looking for every time. And as a DM, we can role play all day.
This is remote, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Via,
I mean, we got folks in Australia, we got folks in UK. Time zones and scheduling are always fun.
You got real accents? How fun.
Real
how luxurious.
Accents. Yeah, that's right. With Breba and Jim Whitted, we did one where it was Beaker Parr, who's in Australia. Breba and Jim Whitted are in the UK. Some people are East Coast, some people are West Coast, all over the place. I feel very lucky, and we're having a wonderful time.
I need your UK Patreons to let me know how my British attempt at an accent is coming along. It should advance as we go. Like, I'm dusting it off, but
for sure.
I'm going to need some pointers.
Pretty good. I love it. Thank you so much, Vale Waffle. I appreciate the compliment. And Kitty Scritcha says, it's amazing how we've managed to get connection with our little sessions. I agree.
That was one of my words, connection.
Connection. I know. Wait, someone else had a really good one. Wait a minute. I saw one in chat earlier. Who was it? Had really good 3 words. Oh, the real Daria. Communication, companionship, and teamwork. I like it.
Yep.
I like it. It's good stuff. We love this. And those are all of our questions. But this is, Christoff, I like you so much. You're wonderful.
I like you so much. This is such a pleasure.
I know. I appreciate it.
I think it's cool that you have such a strong stream community. You have the studio. We're telling such a good story. I'm like, it is a nice respite from the world of business and candles, which I do love. I love what I do.
How could you not?
But it is very fun to be able to jump in and be a player. I'm always a DM, so I'm loving getting the luxuries of being a player. I feel like I'm treated like royalty.
Oh, you're wonderful.
Soldier background, not a noble background.
Pretty close, though.
Similar.
You've got it.
Yeah, high ranking.
Indeed. Oh, that's right. I didn't even mention the fact. Yes, there was a mention that you might have missed this too, but it had me freaking out backstage. Idaho Judd says, "Welcome to the Candle King." You may not know this. There's a established deity in one of our pantheons who is the Candle Queen. She is the goddess of truth and light, which was based on our old in studio where we had Amanda, who was one of our associate producers on the show, who would run candles throughout the back of the studio, and so the audience would see her, and so we labeled her the Candle Queen.
Oh, she was the Candle Queen,
and then she became an in canon deity of the pantheon, which is incredible.
If Camden doesn't work out, I'll become the Candle King. And I'll be the Lord of Lies and Soot.
Oh my!
And I'll just do the opposite of what the Candle Queen
into
does.
It. There you go. Yes, the Candle King. Oh, that's good. But yes, how could I forget to mention Squillace? So there was a little bit of a name drop during Josephine's half that had me going, what? And this just speaks to the connections of all the stories. So there was mention in Josephine's portion of it that the mention of Squillace. Squillace is a leprechaun trickster archfey. And our Dungeon Run community knows Squillace because I played a warlock in campaign 1, and he was a Great Old One warlock, but he was lying that he was a Great Old One warlock for I was lying for about 50 episodes.
Because it was really for a trickster.
Well, no, I was telling people that I was an archfey warlock. I was like, oh yeah, my patron is this little leprechaun that I've never really seen, but his name's Squillace. And it was built into my character's backstory that he had gotten so that he had made a pact with this unknowable elder god that that was truly evil, but James thought didn't realize that he even existed. And so when people found out he was a warlock, he's like, yeah, but my patron's just an archfey. He's this little leprechaun. And then the more you got to know James, the more you got to see that I'm casting like Hunger of Hadar, and I'm casting like some really dark spells, and people are like,
"Wait,
Archfey?
That's not Feywild."
It's like, that doesn't feel Feywild at all. And so it was a very...
This is shadowy and mysterious.
Fail Waffle says, basically Morgan's character was a liar. This is correct. I was lying for reasons, you know. He was mostly lying because he didn't want people to think he was a bad person, though he was questionably a bad person. Long story. One of my biggest moments in campaign 1 was about 50 episodes in, when I got to say there is no Squillage, or basically like, and I clarified then, basically saying Squillage might exist somewhere in the Feywild. I don't know him. We don't know each other. I've never talked to him. It's like
full circle. Now we're in the Feywild, and Squillage's name has been dropped.
And we've joked so many times during the campaign that it's like the real Squillage is going to show up someday and be like, I heard you guys been talking smack about me. Like, what is happening? And so the minute Rachel said the name Squillage in part 2, I looked at Ron like, are you kidding me?
What?
What did she just say?
Amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing.
But I think that's time, my friends. We love you so much. This has been so much fun. Christoff, thank you so much, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you all for the good questions.
Yeah,
I really appreciated it. Gets me thinking about the character.
We'll get you in the We'll get you in the Discord here in just a moment. So look out for that later today, friends. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more Broken Ring. Have a great weekend. Yeah, friends. All right, we'll talk to you soon. And lastly, humankind, be both. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.